everyone, and welcome to another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome back my next guest. She is Eva Veldkamp from the Northeast Maritime Institute, or NEMO. How are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm fine.
Now, NEMO has brought out a new website. Tell us what's going on.
You can just go there. It's northeastmaritimeonline.com. And we try to make it serve mariners who visit the website as best as possible. So it's not like a website that provides only information. You can really find the best opportunity for you to learn and to be educated. And Northeast Maritime Online allows you to take courses. So that's US Coast Guard approved courses and also SCCW international approved courses. You can also take exams from Halo. That's another software platform tool that's connected to NEMO. So that will allow you to be educated fully online in some cases. We also have blended courses. So for some courses, it's needed to be in a swimming pool or, put on a fire suit to do this practical training. And also our connection with Dominican Maritime Administration then makes it also very convenient for people to be certified. So then you take a course, an exam, you have simulators also to practice your skills. For example, the GMGS course just allows you to practice your skills with all the GMGSS equipment. And then you can just obtain your certificate of training. And if you do all the required training, you can even obtain your COC or COP, your certificate of competence. So that's really exciting. And we just did our best to make the new website work as fast as possible for people to just find their way pretty easily. So that people are just empowered to be educated.
That's great. Yeah, because I know that when crew are going to look to start their journey into the industry, it can be very confusing because a lot of places they go will start packing on these courses that aren't necessarily needed, but will make them more money. And when we're talking about getting more crew into the maritime industry, we're talking about a lot of people that may not have that kind of money, but do have a love of the sea. So giving them that ability to say, you know what, this is the barest that I need in order to get into the industry. Once I get into the industry, I can look at furthering my career in perhaps a more niche way because of the financing that I've already accrued through getting to work as soon as possible with the littlest amount of money.
Yes, that's totally true. So, and it doesn't even matter where you are. That's also you can do it anywhere because it's online. All you need is a browser, internet browser, and you just can do it. You just can surf to the website and search what you want. And then, like you said, just make your own plan and just do it. And the other thing I really find interesting is that is also empowering maritime employers in that way. Because if you want to make sure that your E's are competent, then you want to make sure that they're certified, right? That they're having the right training and that they did an exam that was fully safe. So that allows you to do that as well from the employer's side. That's also interesting. So yeah, it's really exciting, and it will be good to see how people are enjoying our website. And so if anybody is interested in watching this, then please let us know what your experience are, because what we noticed, we also provided some courses for free, by the way, so that people can try it out. We think it's important that some, education is provided to people regardless of if they can afford it or not. So, and it also, gives them the opportunity to just try it out, see what it is. So yeah, that's also a possibility.
We'll make sure to include the links below this interview when it airs. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about as well, for those out there that haven't met Eva before, she is also an IMO policy coordinator.
I'm an IMO policy coordinator for Dominican Maritime Administration, which is an open international flag state and also an IMO member state. So in that regard, I'm just present at the IMO meetings together with the rest of the delegation, of course, my other colleagues. And that's really interesting. Also, like you said, I'm leading a working group from the Center for Ocean Policy and Economics. And this working group is on psychological safety, which is a pretty interesting topic to talk about now, I think, because what we recently did in February this year during IMO subcommittee on human element training and watchkeeping. That's a mouthful, sorry. And we started with that last year. So we pointed out the importance of a psychologically safe working environment. And that sounds like something, okay, is that interesting? Well, we think from code, it's very important because it's the basics of all safety. I think certainly in the maritime sector, there's a big need for people to be educated about psychological safety, what it means, and also what it addresses. Because if it's not safe, almost like psychologically safe, then you have a very big chance that you're getting bullied, for example, or that there's bullying in your team, or even like harassment and assault in the worst cases, like abuse. And that's the effect of having an unsafe situation. And I'm just very happy that I'm like having the opportunity to raise this issue also within IMO. And we worked on it last year with our code working group. And this year it was like taken forward by all the other member states within IMO. And it was decided that this is so important that psychological safety should be a separate competence. So that's now being developed as being part of the STCW. So that's all the mandatory training requirements for all seafarers all over the world. Doesn't matter like who you are or where you're from. You just need this training to be able to work on board of seagoing ships. And that's really exciting because right now, these mandatory training requirements were finalized and they're hopefully like adopted this year or next year so that it will become mandatory for all people who are working at sea to learn how to address bullying, sexual assault and harassment, and how to be like psychologically safe.
Will there be a law put in place or a requirement put in place that the person teaching that aspect of the SCCW has to have some sort of certification in mental health? Because currently, what you see is that most of the teachers, none of them have the training. There's not an expert that is training people in psychological safety. Is this something that will be implemented as well?
Well, yes, if it's part of the policy, there's a structure behind the policy. So first of all, we'll now focusing on the policy. So what is required, what like competences people need to have, what knowledge, what understandings. And then when you make this like mandatory requirements part of your training and education system in your country or in your school, you have to be accredited for the international policy, right? So you have to prove that your education is meeting the standards, that it's like taught by people who are competent, who are knowledgeable. If you cannot prove that, or if you're not meeting the standards, then you won't be accredited. Like you won't be certified.
It's really important that if you're going to be offering something that is for the betterment of crew the world over in the maritime industry, that you need to be able to show and to prove that you had the proper education in order to be teaching that course.
Yes. Yeah, you're totally right. And that's just what makes competent seafarers in the end, right? So you have to make sure that your seafarers having all the competences, all the knowledge, all the education to be just doing their work like in a safe, healthy way. And I think it's just so good to have this new focus on psychological safety. It's going to help us out, like as humankind, maybe so much to just know how to behave and how to be decent human beings amongst each other, how to help each other, how to lead also, like how to be a healthy and good leader, and how to just do your job in a good and safe and normal, like healthy way. So yes, I think it's really exciting to have these mandatory training requirements in place so that we can just all work from there.
I think maritime is probably the last industry that is actually looked after legally when it comes to anything to do with mental health or to do with sexual harassment or bullying. When you're on land, you got to do things correctly. But it still seems like we're living in the days of the Pirates of the Caribbean when it comes to the maritime industry. And that's not acceptable. There's no excuse for that.
No, you're right. And it's in the end, it's about human rights, right? So you have the right to be free. And if you're on a ship, that's a contained environment. It's like a spaceship. You cannot go anywhere. You're like, but if you are hitting the shore, or if you're like in port, you should be allowed to go. And if you want to stop working, then you should have your passport and just allowed to leave if that's your choice, right? So that's very basic. And you will believe that's just normal in the world. But I think the maritime industry is also like a good place to hide if you want to do things that are not exactly like legal. I think a good challenge to improve, because I also believe that people who are managing ships or owning ships having the best intentions. So most of the time, they just love the ocean. They just love shipping. They just love to take care of their people also, because if you take care of your people, then they will take care of your ship, right?
I think there are people out there, like anywhere on the planet, that have the best intentions. I also think there needs to be laws in place for those that don't have the best intentions. And that if, for example, the owner of a shipping company is seen to have multiple human rights abuses, they shouldn't have a right to own a shipping company or be in the maritime industry. That right should be stripped from them. We do have to be aware of this. I know that I myself am guilty sometimes of having this sort of innocent look at the world, thinking that I want to do everything I can for everybody and thinking that the world looks at me with the same eyes. But that's not true. And I've been caught out a few times. And, we have to be aware of the reality. And as you are doing, make sure those changes are made for the next generation, if not for this generation.
Yes, and you made a really good point there, because sometimes the truth is very uncomfortable, right? So you want to believe that, reality is not as bad as you think it is. And I think that's just a basic human coping mechanism, to be honest. You just don't want to see the problem because it's so big and so overwhelming, and then you feel very bad, and nobody wants to feel bad, right? But I think what we need is to really see the problem, like make it uncomfortable enough to recognize what's going on, right? So just recognize, okay, I don't ever hear about these stories. So people also sometimes tell me or ask me things, is this really true? Because I never hear these stories of abuse at sea or bullying, so I think it's not going on. And that's a good question, because if people are curious to know if it's true, then you can find out. Just ask people, were you ever bullied, or did people make remarks that you don't like, or will you ever feel unwelcome somewhere in your working environment, and then you can have a conversation about that. And then it's an opportunity for people to learn from each other, because I think you just need to see each other's perspectives, right? If you want to make it better. So that's what I really meant by people having the best intentions in a way, because I think that if they really feel it, they really see what's going on, people in who have the power to change things, then I think we can really do it as well. But
I think also that for some of these people that are ruled by the almighty dollar, it's really the only way to kick back at them is by taking away that almighty dollar. So, some will feel it from the human level and the emotional level, but I think others, it needs to be financially unrewarding for them to make that change.
Yes. Yeah. And it made me think about two things while you said that. So first of all is what you said before about unacceptable behavior, or even unlawful behavior that needs to be that deserves a consequence, right? You have a clear boundary. If you cross it, you have the consequence. So I think first of all, that is really needed. And then second of all, why we're talking about these financial motivations of people, I think it's so interesting to see what a human is worth. Because when you look at it from a risk perspective, if you're making decisions for your business, you often say, is this a risk? Then I need to cover it, or I need to make sure it's safe, because otherwise I will lose my assets, my money, everything. And if you look at it at humans at sea, a lot of times you just say, okay, well, if you are a problem, if you are a problem in a team or something, and you're the only one being impersonating the problem. For example, if you are abused, you're just hurting, and And then it would be really wrong, I think, to just take away the problem and, put somebody else back on the ship. And that's just an example about how you then manage that risk. But if you are taking the risk very seriously, maybe they can see, okay, how did this happen? Because clearly somebody was hurt. So there's a risk there for my safety. And I think it's also even financially. So that's a good question, right? How is this financially attached to my ship, and how to, deal with people, and how to deal with my employees who take care of my ship.
Yeah.
So it might be a good thing to think about if people are watching. It's like, how can we do this? Right.
Yeah. I mean, for every action, there's a reaction. And for some people, the only reaction is financial. That's the only one that will make an impact. It's unfortunate, but it is the world in which we live in today. Eva, I want to say thank you ever so much for your time once again.
Yeah, dude, thank you for having me. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about this. And I would just, if you allow me, just say something to the audience, because I think if you are watching this video right now and you think you'd like us to talk about these things, then please leave your comment, because I think it's good to know what people think, and just share your experiences, share your insights, or share your ideas. And I think thanks you, Ria, also for, giving us this opportunity on your platforms and your, support for people who are working on yachts in the maritime sector, because you do an awesome job. So thank you.
Thank you, Eva. We will, of course, provide all the information, not only for Northeast Maritime Institute, but as well for COPE. If you want to get a hold of Eva, we'll give her link for LinkedIn down below. I want to say thank you again. You've been watching another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I have been your host. We'll see you again next time.